Hello, it's Cara Riley, and we're here at the weekly photography show. We are so happy to have you at the Landscape Photography Show, and we've just had a few cyber gremlins, so if you're watching live, we're here. It always happens, and when you've done some hangout on air, you realize that it just happens. And we are going to have so much fun today. This is a show where we share our photographers from Google Plus and some of the wonderful tips that they have. This is our 5th show, and so we've got a wonderful guest today, Kristal Kraft from Denver, Colorado. She is the unofficial ambassador for Denver, so we'll get to her. First, I'll introduce our team members from the Landscape Photography theme page. For those of you who share your landscape photography shots, we just love them, and they are amazing. So hopefully you will get some tips from today. We'll be bringing in some of the things we've talked about in some of the other shows. We're going to go through some of Kristal's incredible shots, talk about how she planned, what she did, and we'll start. So I am Cara Riley, and you can find me in the Cosmic Cow Pie. I actually have not been in the Cosmic Cow Pie, and you're here. This is my zone. I've been gone since November, in basements, different places. So I am glad to be back. And I help people connect the dots, a small business and real estate consultant. And thanks to Margaret Tompkins, our fearless leader and amateur photographer looking to improve. So let's introduce Margaret here. And she just got back from a wonderful cruise. Tell us a little bit about that, because you know all of our landscape photography friends have missed you for a couple weeks.
Hi, Cara. It's really great to be with you this evening, and everyone who's watching. I have been on vacation for about 2 weeks, so I wasn't even sure how to turn the computer back on. I was kind of starting at ground zero and still trying to wade through several thousand emails that are waiting for me. So I do apologize to all those people who have sent messages and posted to the theme that I haven't seen their gorgeous shots yet, but I'm working on it. I'll just say that. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and just an amateur photographer who enjoys traveling places and taking photographs of the things I see, especially beautiful landscapes. I'm just a real sucker for them. So I enjoy them, and I enjoy our photography theme, and spend quite a bit of time on Google Plus there at the theme, and also moderating the landscape photography community, which is a different entity, but they both focus on landscapes. And in my spare time, I'm a curator for a couple of additional photography themes, Waterbird Wednesday and Grass Tuesday, which I both enjoy those so much as well. So really a pleasure to be with you tonight. And I did take a trip to New Orleans with my family, spent a few days there touring some of the swamps and the mansions that they have to offer, and eating really some fabulous food there in New Orleans. And then we took a cruise to the Bahamas, and it was on a Carnival ship, and it had no problems. Everything was working well. The weather was a little cool, but that's the only complaint that I have. The ship was wonderful, and the people were marvelous, and I've got to take some wonderful shots I hope to be posting soon. So great to be here, Cara. I'm glad to be back with you.
Well, Margaret, we wondered if you were going through withdrawals of not being on Google Plus for 8 hours a day like she normally does.
You know, I thought I would, but actually I didn't. I was so busy with everything that I wasn't. But when I got back home, I realized I had missed everybody on Google Plus, and my two cats. I had missed them as well. So hopefully I can spend a little bit of time with my friends here on Google Plus, as well as the two cats. So I'm back home, and it's always good to get back home.
Well, thank you, Margaret. Now we're going to go across the pond, and we're coming up to, you know what's coming up, St. Patrick's Day, and we've got David Heath Williams from the Dublin, but he's really from Wales. We'll let you explain and share with us what happens this St. Patrick's Day in Dublin.
Well, as you can imagine, and especially over in America as well, but Dublin goes crazy for Patrick's Day. So the whole of Dublin goes crazy for Patrick's Day. Plenty of processions, plenty of celebrations, and it's a wonderful place to be. It is. Our local town will celebrate St. Patrick's Day. It'll turn green literally for a few days. In fact, our whole seafront has been turned into a fun fair, amusement park right the way along. So there'll be some good night shots there with the lights and the rides and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. So
I actually celebrate St. David's Day for Wales more than I celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
Well, with a name like Riley, I'm going with St. Patrick's.
Well, St. David's Day was the 1st of March. That was actually my birthday as well. So, so yeah, that's how you end up with the name David when you live in Wales. And if you're born on St. David's Day, you get named David. But St. Patrick's Day will be amazing as always.
I'm going to do a little bragging on David. David takes the most incredible sunrise shots all over the seacoast in Ireland. And tell our listeners how many hits you have had on that Dublin Bridge. This is clicks on one photograph.
It's funny you should say that, because there's another one at the moment taken over, but I don't know. It's over 35 million hits on that picture.
Wow.
Now, okay, so there's a bar for all of our listeners. 35 million hits on one photograph.
Well, I started getting notifications the other day on a photograph I took in Cloughley Falls in over the Wicklow, over the Sally Gap, a place called Manakilbride. And I started getting hits off it the other day, and I don't know why. And I said to myself, I'm just going to go look at the Picasso front page, and there it was. It was the number 5th picture on the Picasso front page.
Wonderful.
So it's on about 4 million hits at the moment. So I don't know how you end up on that front page on Picasso, but
no, that's incredible, David. Well, we're so pleased that you could join us today. So now I'm just gonna do a little bit more of a background on Kristal. She is a photographer. She is a realtor. She is one of the first bloggers, like serious bloggers. She is a trainer. She does social media, technology. We're not gonna laugh too much, Kristal, but we're with our cyber gremlins. And well, you should have seen me when we did our bar camp. It was worse. So but this is what's fun. Kristal is always seeking the sunset or puffy clouds, and she just really has fun with her work, and she's going to share how she's used her work to start communicating. So Kristal, we are so delighted to have you. 46 countries in 6 continents with your bike. Tell us about that first. We are all dying to know about that.
Oh, well, in order to celebrate 2000, I joined a bicycling community. There was 250 of us, and we rode our bikes around the world. More accurately, I went around the world with a bike because I wanted to see it. Some of the cyclists, they wanted to put in every mile, and I wanted to see where I was going. So that's essentially when I started blogging, because as I was riding, I would take pictures and snapshots and then write about our day just to keep a journal. And then I posted it online. So I wrote a website, or a blog as it would be called today, while we were going around the world, and it took a year.
Oh, wow. Well, that is fun. We sailed around the world, and I was ready to come home after 3 months. So
Oh.
I have to give you accolades for persevering for a year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start here. I'm going to share a screenshot here. This is Kristal's page. If you circle Kristal, you are going to see these amazing shots. And this shot, I understand from the comments, Kristal, on your actually on your Facebook page, this is in a contest. And just to be honest, taking a lightning shot is on my Goddard list. I want to get some lightning. So tell us a little bit about this picture, how you did it, and how other people can do it.
Well, you know, a lot of it has to do with luck. That I was out with a friend, and he was visiting from Arizona, and we went up top of Mount Evans and had a great day, and then had some dinner, and we're coming home, and I get a call from my husband, and he goes, "Don't come home." He goes, "We have a horrible hailstorm, and if you come home, you're going to ruin the car." It was that bad. So it was kind of a funny phone call, because usually people are saying, "When are you going to get home?" You know, and instead he's saying, "Don't come home." So I thought, oh, let's just go over to the skyline area, because David, my friend, is a photographer too, and we can get a nice skyline shot. And so by the time we got there, the bad weather wasn't really in the city. The lightning, I think it was more toward the plains than right over the city like it looks. But we just set up in time, and it was amazing. I went back and looked at that day of shooting, and this is the 13th image that I took. And I started at an f/22 in 10 seconds, because I wasn't using the lightning timer. And that was way too much. So I just ended up coming down to a 6.3 at 4 seconds. And that's when I got that. And the only thing I had to do to the shot in the end, because it came out amber, I had not reset my white balance. So I took it into Lightroom and corrected the light balance, and boom, it just popped. So the competition it's in right now is, our club is part of the Colorado Council of Camera Clubs, and it's 5 or 6 clubs in the Metro Denver region. And each club puts forth their favorite images for competition. And so this is part of the year-end judging that they haven't done yet. I think they're going to do it in the next couple of weeks, the final judging. So I have my fingers crossed, you know, that it'll play somewhere. But I love the shot.
I'm going to put you back on here, but I'll go back to the picture. Describe to, since you're an ambassador for Denver and all things Colorado, okay, we want everybody to know that. And I just love, you know, knowing Margaret from Kansas City and David from Dublin. So tell our viewers what they're looking at here. Over here, you've got a tower, which is kind of interesting, and then what you have going on down here.
Well, Denver has a pretty remarkable skyline. We don't have big water, rivers, and things like that. We have some mountains, but this is looking east. What you're looking at in the blue tower is an amusement park, and that's a tower where crazy people go to the top and drop down in like a swing chair. And at night, it's fabulous because it changes color. So you can get that tower pink or purple or blue or red. And in the 4 seconds that I got it, I guess it was just blue at that time, because I've got other pictures with it being different colors.
I have it pink.
Do you have it? Okay. Well, and you know, it's kind of cool because if you take enough of them, you can match the sky or coordinate with the sky that you want, whatever color. And then the foreground, which I've gotten rid of in my competition print, I was told to make that darker because it's distracting. So I've just kind of taken away the trees, and that's I-25. We're right above the freeway, right there.
And actually over here, I thought that was so interesting. To the left, that is the sign for the Spear Boulevard exit.
Yeah.
in Denver. And the only reason I'm talking about this is because, Kristal, as we integrate social media with our photography, I think I posted something on Foursquare that went on a Facebook page, and Kristal knew I was looking for a place to take a shot. And what did you do? Tell them what you did.
I told you, go here. This is where it is.
She did. So here she is on social media saying, Cara, just go to Diamond Hill if you want that shot. And it's like, oh my gosh. So if Ben was here, Ben T, if you're watching this, he has an entire website of the best locations. And David, that would be something. Do you have a place where people can go and look and find the best places to take their pictures in Ireland, in Dublin, in the Dublin area?
No, I don't get enough time. I just don't get enough time to put anything together really, or do anything like that at the moment anyway.
Okay. Well, so Ben, what he's doing in the Pacific Northwest is he actually has a website of the places to go, and Kristal in this particular example was sharing where I could get that shot, and it was perfect. My shot wasn't like hers, but it was perfect. So now here's another shot that Kristal just took.
Oh, Cara, I just wanted to add on that lightning shot that I really like using that long exposure technique, because that looks like you've got 2 or maybe 3 individual lightning strikes there, and it just really, the composition on that is so good. I could just stare at that all day. I mean, it's just such a gorgeous shot, and I know you can't make the lightning happen where you particularly want it, but certainly using that 4 seconds to capture it just really did capture it beautifully. Just love that.
So Margaret, when you come to the Grand Canyon this summer, that's where I want the lightning striking, around the Grand Canyon. So you're going to have to bring that. Maybe we'll have to bring Kristal with us.
Yeah,
maybe so. We may have to bring a rainmaker. We are a big drought in the Kansas City area. So
we can bring Virgil. We can bring him. We can do that. Virgil.
Yeah, we need a rainmaker.
Okay, so now Kristal, tell us about this shot. And it's not snow.
No, it's not snow. It's really tricky, isn't it? When we first got there, I grew up in New Jersey on the East Coast, at the shore, and when we first got there, I'm seeing sand, and I'm looking like, where is the ocean? It just felt so out of place.
I don't think everybody knows that this is New Mexico White Sand. What do they call it? White Sand National Park.
It is White Sands National Monument.
Okay.
And it's above the Chihuahuan Desert, the northern part. It's not very far from Texas or Mexico itself, but it's a very unique area of about, I might quote it wrong, but like 250 square miles of white sand. And it's in a basin, so it's all the sand has gathered there. It's gypsum. So it's not your normal type sand. It's very solid and very white, beautiful. It's just eerie out there. And this particular shot, my husband was sweet enough to take me there. He's not into photography, and sometimes he actually cooperates and stops the car, so I can take a picture. And here he let me have 3.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
We had a blast. He was enjoying it too. I'm joking. He's not quite that bad, but sometimes I feel like it,
Ben, if you're listening, Ben, because he has a spouse, if you are looking for the shot and you're with somebody who's not, it really is hard. Because they don't understand actually why it's taking so long.
And it's really sad because I feel rushed, and so I don't want to inconvenience him. So you pretty much have to go do these with photographers because we are the only people who understand. each other.
I think that I had the like big rushes. You know, in your life, you don't get too many big rushes. But the biggest rush I had was at the Antelope Canyon with Gray Kinney and Mimi Lundy. 3 photographers just really having a great time. So now here, tell us about this shot. Kristal, it's in an airplane museum. My husband called it the Airplane Zoo.
Yeah, this was a compromise, an easy compromise, because my husband loves planes. So on the way down to White Sands, we stopped at the Pueblo Air Museum. And I had seen a picture from another photographer, this very picture, so I decided I wanted to go take it. So I want to thank him for the inspiration. I got there, and the museum is just fabulous. They have all kinds of artifacts and planes and everything from the wars. And so this one is where I said, don't forget to take your knee pads. I did not take them in, but in the future I will. Because crawling around in those dirty, hard floors is not exactly fun, and it's not really easy on your knees. But
well, I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, because one of our shows, we did like a survival kit, and the knee pads. Now, when Kristal said that needed to be added. Now, Margaret, you tell us about your knee pads. When do you use the knee pads?
Well, I use them out in the garden, and then when I go and photograph things, I very often wear them just as a protection. I like rocky areas in the Southwest and go climbing around, which means I'm falling, and it just really is helps protect the knees. And sometimes you just need to get down on the ground or very close to the ground to get the right shot. And it's just so much more comfortable with some padding around your knees so they don't get all scraped. So it's just it's a protection. It's just as valuable as some rain gear to keep your camera dry.
So now, David, tell, because some of our listeners haven't been with us for the whole time, but your photographs are really almost down at ground level. Tell us what you do and how far down do you get to get those pictures?
Yeah, if it's a shoreline photograph, most of my photographs are literally about 5 or 6 inches off the ground. You would go quite close. It all depends what angle you're looking for, but I usually end up doing a belly flop onto the floor, and I'm looking through the camera, leveling it out, trying to get the right position, but that's it. Funny you should say that about the knee pads. A couple of weeks ago, I was down in Greystones, and there's a rocky position I go to quite a lot, and I literally did kneel down where I shouldn't have done, and I got a huge lump on the side of my knee straight away. And there's nothing worse. You have to have the tools for the job in one way, and sometimes knee pads are just something you don't think about.
And also a blanket, to put down where it's really dirty. So Kristal, we thank you for the knee pad tip. So from the Airplane Zoo. Now look at this one. This is looks like a Christmas card. Tell us about this, how you took it, what the time was. And no, that's not sand.
No, this is snow. In the beginning of January, we went up to Steamboat Springs, which is getting tons of snow. It's a wonderful ski area. So it's just a target-rich environment. Lots of barns, ranches, horses, you name it. Steamboat has it. So it's really easy to go spend a few days and come back with tons of photos. We were really tired this morning. We got up and actually started to leave the condo, and my 2 friends were leaving without their cameras because they thought we were going to breakfast. And I'm like, no, go get your cameras now. I couldn't believe they were doing that. But they went and got the cameras. We came out, and we just saw this marvelous sunrise. So I started driving and had no idea where we're going to end up. The area has a river, the Yampa River, that goes through it, and there was just a lot of moisture, and so everything was crystallized, and it was just spectacular. I just kept driving, and I saw this red schoolhouse, and I knew this is it. And it's a little historic schoolhouse, and pulled over, and we got so many wonderful pictures just in this area, not just of the schoolhouse, but of the trees and the sunrise. And yes, it is wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, I totally think that is a Christmas card. So,
yeah, I love that one too. It's that gorgeous red color. It's like if you were looking at that and it was brown or something, you'd want to go grab a paintbrush and paint it red, just so you could have it red against that beautiful white snow. So it's a gorgeous shot.
And I love the little bell, the school bell up there. It just made it perfect. So
Kristal, she posted a really, really funny picture when she went. You know, we forget about the hazards as a photographer when you're, you know, going places. And Kristal posted a picture of her Escalade in the snowbank. Because tell them what you did. That was so funny. I should go find that picture to share.
Well, it was my ultimate plan to get to meet the entire neighborhood. We were driving down the street, and my friend goes, "Oh, stop! Turn around! Turn around!" She had seen something down the river. So I went to turn around, and this was in Steamboat, and they grade the street when they plow the snow. They grade it even, and you can't tell how deep it is. And I made the mistake of my wheel went over the road, and I thought I could correct it by going quickly and getting back up on the road, and instead it just went down. It was like 3 foot of snow, and there was no way out. And of course, I'm right in an area where there's no cell reception. And so we got to meet all the ranchers and their tractors, and people going skiing and so forth. It was actually a fun morning. So nobody was hurt. I had AAA. My friend called 911. The police officer came out. You know, it was an exciting morning. So now I have this reputation. You know, I don't normally run off the road.
Okay, well, it was so funny because she posted it on, and I thought, oh, she needs to check in Foursquare, in the ditch. Be the first of your friends to check in there.
and that would have been good had I had cell reception.
Well, and even on Google Plus, you can check in places, you know, so that would have been a good one. And Google Earth, everybody would have seen you. Now, Margaret's going to love this one. This is Bryce Canyon. Tell us about this.
You know, I took that years ago, and I just recently took another Lightroom class, and I've been going back and redoing some of my old photos, and that is one that I just pulled out, and that is Bryce Canyon. It's a marvelous place. But,
so while we're talking about that, Kristal, well, let's share about some of the classes in your photography journey, because a lot of people will be watching this, and we want to share how people grow, you know, from the time they decide, oh, I think I like photography, to, wow, I'm going to be obsessed with it, and I go for a 2-hour shoot and I think I'm gone for 10 minutes. So tell us about the classes that you have gotten the most out of and what you would think helps a photographer grow.
Well, I've taken lots of classes, and probably the best that I've taken that seems to solve so many photographer needs is Lightroom. We have a marvelous instructor here who actually was on the team that developed Lightroom. He worked for Adobe, and so he's right in this area. His name's George Jardine, and so George has come and done workshops for us. I've learned so much from him. And he also has DVDs because I have short memory, so I'll go and read, you know, when I need to do something, I'll go watch his DVD. And then just recently, we've had another Lightroom class with a photographer, and it was so enlightening because his pictures are fabulous. And during the class, he gave us 2 pictures of what they were like raw before he did anything to them. And I looked at the one going, wow, I have crappy pictures just like that. If he can make miracles with that picture, I should go back. So that's why I went and started going back into my old files and just using Lightroom to enhance them.
So good. Okay, so you're saying if you would say what class to take first, it might be Lightroom.
Well, and Lightroom is a database. So once you start taking pictures, you want to be able to find them again, and that's been another big problem of mine because I've had Lightroom from the very beginning, but I was clueless how to use it. And so over the years, I kind of developed my own system, which really wasn't very good. So now I'm going back and redoing it. But if you initially use Lightroom for your library of photos, you'll be in perfect shape if you know how to use it first. And then also Lightroom will let you do the modifications of the, what am I trying to say, in the develop module. You can change the exposure and add highlights and all kinds of good things. So there's just so much that it can do that I haven't even touched all of the tools in it.
That's great.
I'm one of those that really love Lightroom as well. And I think the original version, or Lightroom 1.2, something like that, and found it kind of complicated and couldn't quite figure it out. But then recently looked at it again and really bought it to help with the cataloging of all those photographs. It's like when you've got, upwards 20,000 plus, you've got to have something to kind of keep them organized so you can find that old photo of Bryce Canyon when you want to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
And but I was totally blown away at the creative ability that is within Lightroom. To do certain things. It was wonderful. Couldn't believe that there was so much power there in that product, as well as it being perfect for cataloging. And this is from somebody who uses Photoshop a lot. So I'm now using them both, and very, very glad that I do. And I think you bring up a great point, Kristal, about going back and looking at your photographs as you gain more experience and learn these techniques, and quite frankly, as the software processing gets better and we learn more about it, your capacity to deal with photographs is much better now than it was probably when you took that original photograph of Bryce. So it's really a good reason to not ever throw a photograph away, that you may be able to come back and produce a marvelous print from something where maybe the light balance was not perfect, and you had just dismissed it because at the time you didn't know how to do that. So it's just wonderful now that the post-processing software is improving and our knowledge of these products is improving. So it's just a win for everybody, and just really I enjoy looking at some of the old ones and what I've been able to do with them. I'm just surprised at how good they turn out.
So thank you, Margaret. Now, David, this is a surprise. This is what we call shooting from the hip here as we're having our little discussion on The View. This is David, one of David's posts. Now, tell us what you did, where you were for this shot. And you posted this morning or yesterday?
Well, this was Tuesday morning.
Okay. And so tell us what you did to edit it, and where you were to shoot it.
Okay, this is the location is Greystones, County Wicklow, This is called the Middle Beach. So even though there doesn't look like there's a beach there, there is a beach. It's on your left-hand side, just like about 30 feet, 40 feet around the corner from it, like literally on your left-hand side. Right, well, I left work at 7:10. I drove down to Greystones, which was just 5 minutes away. It's very cold. It was -3 or 4 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I don't know what that is. That's 23 degrees in your language. I set the tripod up and the camera. See the rain, not the rain, the snow and the wind from the previous day was very bad. And the seas were very high, so you couldn't get down there. But because the wind had dropped, they said, I'll just pop to Greystones and see if I can get a picture. So I plonked my tripod down. I took about 20 pictures, bracketed, one stop either way. So this is actually a blend of 2 pictures. It's the same photograph, but from a bracket of -1 stop and the 0 stop as well. So the sky is 1 stop lower than what it really was. It's just the sky and the foreground blended together from the same 2 images. Then in Photoshop CF6. Then I brought it into Nixoft Color Effects Pro 4. I used the detail enhancer to bring out the foreground, the Pro Contrast to bring out the color, and the dynamic range a bit more. Then I used the color balance, the brilliance and warmth filter to bring out the redness in the sunset and the sunrise. And then I used the polarizing filter on top of it in the software to bring the blue out in the very top of the sky, just the very top. So I'm using a default setting and processed it from there, flattened the layers, squared it off slightly because it was just slightly askew, and then posted it on Google Plus about an hour later.
Well, David, while I'm going to go to Kristal here and talk a little bit about the club that she's in, but if in this you can say no, but if you can find the first shot that you took before you did the editing and putting them together, that would be a really cool learning tool for me anyway, to see this is what it looked like before, and he took all those steps, combining the 2, and that's what your finished product looked like. So if you can find it while Kristal's sharing, that would be awesome.
I can find it right now.
Okay, good. All right, so we're going to ask Kristal here. We're multitasking. We're getting so much better now with what we're doing on our Hangouts. It's just practice, right? It's kind of like taking the shots. It's like when you've been with somebody, like when I have actually done shoots, Pam Chalkley from Vegas, who now lives in California, does leading lines. I met her in Vegas, and she it was one shot. Whatever it was we were taking, it was one shot, and they were all good. And same with Gray Kinney. So Gray, if you're listening. So Kristal, share a little bit with us about your evolution as a photographer, how you got started, what really motivated you to take your photography to the next level, and how it helps you in your business.
Well, I got started probably when I was blogging, because I discovered early on that a picture will attract people to read, where a wall of words is not that interesting. And I was buying stock photography all the time because I couldn't post anything unless I had some kind of a picture. And then I decided, I could probably go take some of these, and that's what I started doing. I would go take images and put them on my blog posts, and at the time I thought they were awesome. People were telling me how great it was, and now when I look back, I'm going, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
I think we're all that way.
Yeah. But from that, I heard about a photography club, and so I went to it. My sister-in-law actually took me off to the wildlife photography club, which was nice, but I couldn't see myself waiting for animals to come so I could take a picture. I'd be taking pictures, probably scaring them away. And so I actually went through several clubs until finally I just ended up in my own city of Lone Tree, and I stayed with that club, and they needed help with being a secretary a couple of years ago, so I started as the secretary for the club. And then the website really needed work, and I had experience doing that, so I revamped the website. And from there I ended up being president, probably because nobody else wanted it, but I've got a really great group. So we in the meantime have partnered with a meetup group, or not partnered, but sponsored one of the largest meetup groups in Denver. When we took it on, there was about 600 members, and the gal who'd been running it for a long time was kind of burnt out. She was going to give it up, so she asked, "Do you guys want it?" And I'm like, "Okay, we'll do this." So we kind of blended our club and the meetup and started inviting people from the meetup to our club. We've doubled our membership, and we have lots of activities going on. And some of the best parts, we have professional photographers who teach approaching us saying, "Hey, I'd like to do a workshop for you," and so we can fill those up for them, which makes me feel really good, because it just seems like a win-win. We put some professionals to work for a day, and we teach people who want to learn. So we've become kind of a clearinghouse for learning. So that's about it. Our club is actually doing much better in competitions. That's another thing. Out of 6 clubs, I think we were number 5 a couple of years ago. Right now we're ranked number 2. So that's good progress for us.
Well, thank you, Kristal, for sharing that. I think, if people are listening, that is another step to find a photography club to really grow with people. Now, Margaret, have you ever been in a photography club?
Yes, we have one here locally. I don't think it's as active as the one that Kristal just described.
Members.
Yeah. But it's, I need to go tell them what Kristal has said, and maybe give them your website so they can go check it out. But I certainly, especially early on, I think grew a lot because of that local club, and things like I believe it was last June, Google did a worldwide photo walk thing, and we met in the Crown Center area of Kansas City, a number of us who I didn't know. Well, I think I knew one person there at the time, and they're now my good buddies here on Google Plus, and I see their stuff all the time. So that was certainly a wonderful side benefit, was being able to meet some of these other enthusiasts that kind of share this same passion that I have. But I really tried to pay attention to what others were doing, and learned a lot, and wasn't hesitant about asking people how they did a particular shot. Something I admired, it's like, okay, I want to go do that. Please tell me how you did that so I can go do the same thing. And they're incredibly kind about sharing that with you. So it's certainly given me a lot of incentive to go out and do things like that myself.
Well, that's great. I think just the encouragement, the kindness, I mean, that was what got me to working in the landscape photography theme, was just the kindness of Margaret with the comments. So as you're meeting people, hopefully you'll, realize that just a few nice words about their photography might help them go to the next level. So David, we're ready for you to share your screen now.
Hold on, that one from this morning. I'm a very organized sort of person when it comes down to location of files, and
well, just show us that before of any, and then we'll look at that after.
It's on a different drive because.
Well, just show us any of your before.
I'm just doing it now. hold on a second. They're just. I found a picture in my stream from about a few weeks ago, and I've just put the before and after view up now. So just give me 2 seconds there now. Should be up any second now.
Well, that's good. We'll let you do it, and we'll just talk here for a minute. You find what you want. When you get it, then we'll stop. But we're getting. You found it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. Oh, why is my screen share not working?
It's those cyber gremlins.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure, go right ahead.
One of the things that is really important with photography is having people to go shoot with. And today with Facebook and all the social media things, one of the things that we did was started a group called the Pixel Chicks. Basically, it was a bunch of girls initially starting in our area, and it's now grown. It's all over the country. But we would just post on Facebook and then get together and go shoot places. So it's always nice to have a buddy when you have to get up in dark, and go in the city and shoot and so forth. So I would recommend that you look for photography groups. Well, of course, we're on Google Plus right now. I don't know, are there any social groups like that on Google Plus?
There's communities that are growing. And I know I just have done my own thing. When I see somebody saying they're going to do something, that's how I met up with Greg Henny. Is he was doing a one-man show, Southwest tour to put landscaping in his portfolio. And I also met Jim Goldseth through the landscape photography theme. Now, it's kind of different, when it's just one person and here's a guy. Yeah. So my husband comes and we meet at a restaurant, and then he comes too, and then we decide, oh yeah, this person's okay. You do have to be kind of careful about that. So, but it's good. Now it looks like David's got it up here. So David, is this a before?
This is the before.
Okay. Of the one that we were just looking at.
This is white. Right, this is the before version anyway. This is before any enhancement from the software. And this is a bracketed shot, so it's about one stop under. I think, yeah, one stop under. And it was half a second at f22. Now, I don't use any graduated or neutral density filters. I don't use them. It's not that I don't like them, I just don't use them. And so this is the before shot. This shows the sea lapping in and out, just as it was. And then this is the after shot. Now, the foreground is just like, actually, no, I put the wrong picture up. But this is the enhancement from what the Nixoft would give for bringing out the color and enhancing the detail in the sky area. But that's just an example of what software does. It's like what Margaret said, but Kristal said as well. For me, I come from the days of black and white, so having an enlarger at home and developing pictures was important. So learning how to develop, enhance, dodge, burn a picture was very important. And so even though you might have a good camera, and you might have an excellent location, and you've taken the best picture you can, at the end of the day, you've still got to develop the picture. And in many ways, people just send their pictures off and get them taken. But the more serious you get, the more you need to know. So having any course on Lightroom or Photoshop is a must.
I think
I bought a book and then I went on a course.
Thank you for finding those, because I think, as we talked about the finishing, it's the post. Is that the correct terminology? The post is what happens after we take the shot. So
yeah, post-processing. I mean, it's all about 4/5. I mean, they say in retail, 4/5 of the sale is presentation. So it's how it looks at the very end. You can go to a scene and you can take, either a rubbish. I mean, as Kristal's pointed out, And I've spoken to Margaret about this before. I have 3 terabytes of photographs, and I hate throwing out any image or hate deleting any image, because you're saying to yourself, oh, I might go back and revisit this one day, but one of the problems you get at the end is you can't keep everything forever. And so I have deleted over 1 terabyte of information over recent weeks. But I've still kept on to things which I know I'm going to go back and rework. And it is at the end, it's you can take a wonderful picture, or whichever way you look at it, you can take a rubbish picture. But if you have certain software to bring certain details out, to bring certain colors back, to bring, you know, white balance back to where it should have been, and then when you've cropped it to I mean, the amount of photographs that you can crop into a different direction make a massive difference. I took a photograph this morning. I didn't post it on publicly on Google+. I posted it on the Irish community, run by a good group of people here in the Dublin area and all over the country. And it's a photograph looking across to Wales, 100 miles across the sea. And you can see Wales 100 miles away. And it was only the software enhancement that actually brought it out.
You're going to make us want to join the Irish community here to go see that shot. Or we'll see it on your stream. Now we're coming to the time of our show where we each share one photographer that we highly respect and think that people should circle. So Margaret, we'll start with your share tonight. And, and Kristal, you be thinking about who you want to share.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see if I can do this.
Well, how about this? While Margaret's searching, I'm going to put this up. And my suggested photographer is Kristal Kraft, our guest. and so I just happened to have her buffalo shot. And to me, this looks like the front of a book or a calendar, a Wild West calendar. And I think it's really interesting because Kristal was telling me this story. And I know in the green room, Margaret asked, how far away were you, Kristal? But you were holding barbed wire up to get the shot through the barbed wire. So you could post this on, I almost died, is it Tuesday or Thursday? The barbed wire snapped. But how far away were you, Margaret, or Kristal?
You know, I think it's probably about 50 feet away, and there's a pretty big fence that I slit my tripod through on the bottom, and then I heist it up as far as I can so I can still see through it, and then separate the two barbed wires to get the shot. And he just looked so wonderful at me. I was so happy because usually they totally ignore you or show you their posterior.
It looks like a painting. It looks like a painting.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous.
Okay, now Margaret, are you ready?
Yes, I think I've got it here.
Okay, all right, Margaret's turn.
This is photographed by Ray Bilcliffe, one of the founding fathers, I think, of photography on Google+. Everyone really should be following him. He's out of South Florida, and he's been the scuba diver and this really outdoor person and does such gorgeous work. And he runs about 8 or 10 different themes, including Grass Tuesday and Waterbird Wednesday, and I think Swamp Saturday. He's got one for every day of the week, and maybe several on Thursday. So he's very busy. But this is one of his photographs. He has very brilliant, vivid colors, wonderful light that he's able to capture. And he does just such marvelous work. Here's one of the water lilies. Are you seeing that okay?
No, oh, now we are. We are now.
Okay, and he does this painting, which I've never been able to do, but he just does it brilliantly. So he'll start with a photograph and then does this marvelous painting of it. And here's one of his beautiful water birds with beautiful reflections. But he will have alligators and turtles and all sorts of wonderful wildlife that he finds there in the Everglades, and he just brings it to life beautifully well. So this is my recommendation for a photographer to follow, and that's Ray Billcliffe.
Well, thank you, Margaret. And Kristal, don't worry, we forgot to tell you about sharing a picture, so you can just say the name.
Well, I have someone, but I honestly don't know how to share my screen, and I'm afraid to touch it.
Okay, no problem. All right. Well, now, David, I'm on your screen, and we see a beautiful valley with a curvy road. And who is your photographer?
This guy's Aidan Kalu. I think he's very good. I think he's excellent. Wonderfully talented photographer, and he's always got beautiful light and color. Images are stunning for me. He contributes to landscape theme regularly, and I'd recommend Aidan anytime.
How do you spell Aidan's name?
I appreciate his work.
How do you spell Aidan's name, David?
Aidan.
Okay.
And then Kalloo.
Okay.
He does. He has some immaculate work.
Wonderful. Now, Kristal.
Oh, I think I know. How about this? You can see
great.
Oh yeah, I did it! Yay!
Yay!
This is a gentleman in our club who I think does remarkable work. His name's Mike Berenson, and he shoots the night sky with a sense of place. So it's not just the stars, but you'll see something in the foreground, and he's just amazing. The amount of work that goes into him researching this. His procedure, like where's the Milky Way going to be, and is it going to be a moonless night or whatever. Oops, did I just make it go away?
Yeah,
I'll go back.
You went to white. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, well, this video will be kind of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I would. Oh, here's. I don't know if you can see all these, but go ahead and circle Mike Berenson.
Okay, we'll do that. So thank you, everyone. This was kind of a fun. We're loosening up a little bit. We're having a little more dialogue. So I learned something on every show. So I am so grateful that you had this idea, Margaret, to have us be able to share with one another. And so our next guest will be David Marks. And we had him do a show on Google Earth. And oh, I can tell you, I actually implemented the Google Earth techniques that he shared with us when we went to Joshua Tree National Park. I was finding the trees that I wanted to be behind, and I knew what time the sun was going to come and I would get the shot.
Great.
So it was really great. And then Jim had shared with us about the photographers. It starts with the E. How do you say that?
Is it Emirates?
Yeah. Well,
Ephemeris.
Ephemeris.
Yes.
Ephemeris.
Yes. Anyway, so mixing the two, but here's the bottom line. I did a practice run to make sure that I knew where I was going in the dark at 3:45. So anyway, so we're having David Marks back, and if you missed that, it was episode number 4, and it was well worth a watch. And he will be with us 2 weeks from today. We have every other week we have the show, and he will be teaching or talking to us about thinking in black and white. So landscape photography and thinking in black and white. We have another guest in the second after that. And Kristal, tell us Terry's last name Yes, and she has agreed. Yeah, she has agreed to be here. And this is one of the things that we had comments from, that people wanted to know. How do they start making money from their photographs? And Terry is going to share with us what sites give stock photo and how does it all work. And she puts things on Getty, and that's one of the places where all the biggies go to get their photography. So that's going to be fun. And then on May 7th, we're going to have Mark Johnson, who Kristal knows and is part of the Rocky Mountain School of Photography, and he is going to share with us how to use Photoshop with landscape photography and kind of the evolution of the thinking in your shots, which is really, really going to be kind of fun to see how what you see and what you're feeling relates to the shot that you take. So we've got some great things planned, so continue to watch the Landscape Photography Show, and we will see you on the 26th and at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And thank you, David, for being up in the middle of the night, Kristal for coming from Colorado, and Margaret in Kansas. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you on the 26th.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.